All right. All right. Wee hours of the morning here, Friday, July 26th. A lot of ground to cover here tonight in Eric Arnold's Politics Barn. That's me. I'm Eric Arnold, your host, your guide, your guru. A lot of ground to cover. Look, I hear the nervousness out there. I sense the fear. I've handled no less than 2 panicked phone calls in the past few days about Biden's out, Harris is going to win. What do we do? Trump's going to lose. Oh my God. I don't have all good news for you, but I got a little good news for you. So let's all just take a deep breath and enjoy the next 45 minutes, maybe less. The one subscriber that bitched about the length of these episodes, he doesn't watch anymore because he's a Democrat. So I don't know it's that important, but we'll try to keep a time reasonable here. You've probably remembered I've spoke at length about my inner circle friend Jerry, the Republican who voted for Biden in 20. Helping to sink the world here in the swingiest of all swing states, Pennsylvania. And that I have not spoken to him in some time, and I was wondering if there would be a chance that Jerry, who says he cannot vote for Trump because he's embarrassed by Trump, it's like, well, I don't know. If you've been paying attention, the last several months here of Joe Biden's been pretty damn embarrassing. Of course, now he's out. I spoke with Jerry today. Well, good news and bad news. The good news is Jerry's not a Republican. He's a Democrat. Oh, he says he's a Republican, and I have no doubt that he's registered as a Republican, but he's about as Republican as that Crooks kid is. I mean, what do you call yourself if you voted for the Democrat presidential candidate for 3 cycles in a row? How do you square that with being a Republican? I mean, how do you live under 4 years of the Barack Obama administration and then turn around and vote for Barack Obama if you're a Republican? The guy nationalized health care. And you say, okay, well, I'm a Republican, but I really dig this Obama guy. So he's no Republican. He's a Democrat. So the thought that we were ever going to get his vote was a fairy tale to begin with. He's hardcore, never Trump. He hates Trump, and there's no pushing him off of it. There's just not. The good news is that I think there's a decent chance that he comes down with RFK. I think there is a decent chance that's where he ends up. So that's a small win for us. In other words, having that never Trumper guy who was last cycle just voted against us and helped beat us. At least this cycle, he's not voting, if you will. In other words, RFK is not going to win if you have to vote for him to assuage your conscience, and they're just so terrible. I mean, it always comes down to that. And it's a binary choice. And if you're just too indecisive to make that call, and it's not a close call, it really isn't. Capitalism or communism? Which are you? And to hear Jerry tell it, he's more of a capitalist, but he just hates Trump so much. Well, what can you do? I mean, what can you do? So it would be a partial win if he came down with RFK. I think there's a good chance that's where he's going. It is frustrating talking to people like that, in that this is a smart, very smart person. He's well-read, highly intelligent, but he is ignorant as hell, and he admits it. It's like being ignorant is not something to be proud of. So, for example, he doesn't know anything about Kamala Harris. This is likely, well, she has the second best chance of being president. Let's put it that way. Trump probably has a 60% chance. She's got a 40% chance, and he doesn't know anything about her. I'm not even sure he knew that she was a senator from California. So, wow. There we got our work cut out for us, where a reasonably intelligent person like Jerry doesn't even know the first thing about one of the candidates. Probably one of the candidates that he's going to look hard at voting for. It's like, damn, dude, is that responsible citizenship when you just reflexively vote against one of the candidates without knowing the first thing about the candidate that you're voting for? So I'm hoping, between now and the election, he kind of made paid lip service to the fact that he would try to, educate himself a little bit about the Democrat candidate rather than just reflexively voting against Trump. Yeah. At any rate, I do that all the time. I just said it again. But why is Kamala Harris somebody that we should be enthused about? Why is she a bad candidate? She is polling better than Biden right now. That's not good for us. There's no doubt that she is definitely polling better than Biden. I think it's a honeymoon. We haven't begun to start defining who she is. Jerry doesn't know anything about her, which is frightening. So most people, God bless them, they're just ignorant and want to be ignorant. So it's up to the Trump campaign to get out there and tell people this is who Kamala Harris is. And they are going to start doing that successfully. Let's put it this way. Jerry can't get more ignorant than he is right now. He's not going to become more ignorant than he is right now. Right now, he is the most ignorant that he is going to be in this election cycle. So gradually, Kamala Harris's positions are going to sink in with him. Kamala Harris's personality is going to sink in with him in some fashion. And I'm gambling that the more he learns about her, the less he's going to like her. That's what we're hoping for. Kamala Harris, generally speaking, is unlikable. She's just unlikable. She always has been. The only place she's ever been able to gather enough votes to be elected to anything is in far left California, usually with the backing of some machine behind her that kind of makes it impossible to lose. When she ran for the Democrat nomination in the 20 cycle, she was embarrassed. She was run out of the race before the Iowa caucuses. So I'm hoping that continues. I don't know that she's any different than she was 4 years ago. She's the same person. Here are some of the positions that she has espoused in the last 5 to 10 years. Now, this is coming from a brilliant Dave McCormick ad here in Pennsylvania. He's running for Senate. His idea was, I'm going to tie Bob Casey to Kamala Harris, thinking that Kamala Harris is going to be pretty unpopular here in Pennsylvania. And pretty much all these items, the ad has Kamala saying the words herself, whether it be in a debate or an interview. So this isn't like, oh, I'm making this up. The Green New Deal, she supports that. She says she wants to do away with the filibuster in order to get the Green New Deal passed. Why is the Green New Deal bad? It's basically just climate change on steroids. Basically the government involved in every corner of the economy to ensure that somehow, whether you build a car or drill for oil or make widgets or are a police officer, that your first and foremost concern, enforced by a raft of regulations that thick, is emissions, the atmosphere, whether or not a tree grows or not on the corner, that type of thing. It's incredibly invasive. It's more or less communism. You think prices are high now. Under the Green New Deal, prices will skyrocket because all of that type of regulatory crap is expensive, and that stuff just gets passed right on to the consumer. Also, it's a debate we've never really had. In other words, is there climate change? And even if there was, is it important? Is it something we have to be worried about? Well, Kamala doesn't care about any of that. She's just going to ram it down your throat. So if she gets elected, that's one of the things we can look forward to. Banning fracking, banning offshore drilling. She wants to ban us from getting our own energy out of the ground. So we can look forward to paying through the nose from foreign sources when we can get it here much cheaper and employ our own people to do that. It's almost like this just makes too much sense. That's why the Democrats are against it. They just don't want us to have our own energy. I guess they think it's dirty or something. Who knows, but she's all for that. You know, here in Pennsylvania, banning fracking, I mean, that's a lot of people that that sort of industry supports. A lot of people here are dependent on the energy industry, but the hell with them, right? The hell with them. That's what Kamala believes. Wide open borders, of course. This whole debate whether or not she's the border czar, is she not the border czar, what's her role? Doesn't matter. It's all semantics. I mean, she believes in wide open borders. She's done nothing to close the borders while part of the Biden administration, whether it's been her official role or not. She's obviously done exactly zero to enforce any rules about immigration. She wants free health care for illegals. So if you can get here, you get all the bennies that you want in the whole world. Just going to give it to you because you're here. You're here. There are no rules. There's certainly none that I'm going to enforce if I'm Kamala Harris. Now, this is the one thing that was not part of the ad. I just threw it in there. She's not saying this explicitly, but I think it just makes sense that obviously this is what they believe in. That if you're here and we're giving you all this free stuff, we're not going to check to see if you have ID or if you're a resident or a citizen. You're here, we're just going to let you vote. So clearly they're in favor of illegals voting. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to nationalize our elections in this country to eliminate things like voter ID laws. That's part of the reason why we want voter ID laws, to make sure people that have no business voting in our elections aren't voting in our elections. There was a poll out here recently by, I believe, Rasmussen, where they asked a question and said, in the last election cycle where you voted, were you legal? Yes, no, unsure. Upwards of 9% either said no or unsure. That's kind of scary, isn't it? That 9% of the people voting in our elections are probably illegal. That's kind of scary, you know? It's like, wow, I guess the battle really is lost here. That we certainly don't have secure elections. It's really just sad state of affairs. Back to Harris. Gun confiscation. She talks about mandatory buyback programs, which I guess that's just, I'm going to put a gun to your head and give you a price that you think is unfair, and you're either going to accept it or I'm going to arrest you for your gun. That's a bunch, I mean, it's terrible. It's illegal. the Second Amendment is pretty well established. So this gun confiscation, that's her just with another illegal scheme that she just intends to do because she has no respect for rules that she doesn't agree with. Defunding the police. She was neck deep in that Black Lives Matter garbage when those terrorists are running around burning down cities and whatnot. And rather than her saying, oh my God, this is terrible, the police should do something, she's out there raising bail for these bastards. That's where she is with that. She doesn't have any respect for the cops. I guess she's going to try, I don't know what she's going to do, because her background is she was the district attorney in California. She was a prosecutor. So I guess she'll try to tack to the middle. Once she has the Democrat nomination sewed up, she's going to try to fool Mr. and Mrs. John Q. Public in thinking she's tough on crime. She's anything but. She's got all kind of comments about how the cops are racist and they should be eliminated in some instances, or certainly that we shouldn't increase. We shouldn't hire any more, that's for sure, according to her. So these are all unpopular positions. I won't say the vast. The majority of Americans do not agree with this shit. So once that starts getting through to the ignorant Jerrys of the world, that's good for us. And her numbers are going to plateau, and I would say eventually start dropping. But it's up to the Trump campaign to define her, and they have resources. They are not going to just allow the media to anoint her as Joan of Arc. They are going to keep after her. So what else do we got here? She's tied to Biden. Whether or not she likes it, doesn't like it, she is his vice president. They're going to try, there's really no way they can spin this, that they're going to try to get her away from Biden and say, oh, well, all the unpopular stuff, she had nothing to do with that. Well, then what did she do exactly? You know, what's her qualifications for being president? If you're saying she had no involvement in the administration whatsoever, well, then why the hell is she running for president? What's her qualifications? So she could have it that way, or they could do it where, well, she was intimately involved in the pullout from Afghanistan and helped craft the economic, whatever the hell bill, the infrastructure bill. You know, all this shit's unpopular. So, you know, you really can't have it any way that helps her. And once people start realizing that, you know, it's not going to help her. Not going to help her. I think she's about as popular as she's going to get right now. I do not think that she's going to get more popular than she is right now, today, when people like Jerry know nothing about her. And I think as Jerry learns more about her, she's going to get more unpopular. Now, these were two things that I heard from Democrat sources that are negatives for her. I didn't think about these things really one way or the other. But once I heard the Democrats speak about them, I thought, well, that's politics. That's Democrat playbook. In other words, if you know your candidate has something in their resume that's a negative, you get it out there and you throw it out there, and then you attack anybody that dares bring it up and say, well, you bring that up, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're a fill in the blank. Sort of like where we're pointing out the fact that the only reason that she is the vice president is because Joe Biden insisted on picking a black female. He said this, did he not? And here she is. Now, I guess what they want us to believe is that, well, she was the best qualified anyway. And had he not wanted a black female, he would have picked her just because she's so damn great, despite the fact that she garnered no delegates in the primary for the Democrats in 2020. So that defies logic that she was so damn great that they picked her. No, they picked her because she fit a certain demographic category, which Democrats love to do because that's how they think. They don't think in terms of individual character or individual merit. They think in terms of grouping and how you're defined. And, oh, gosh, I got one of these, I got one of those. I need a black female. I don't have a black female. Well, there's a bunch of other people over there that could do that job that are better. Oh, no, I need a black female. So that's why she's there. So we call her the DEI candidate. They call us racist. So that's the point of how they are bringing things out themselves that they believe will hurt their candidate, trying to get out in front of it early, get people used to it, and then saying, okay, that's old news, and we've already established if you bring that up, you're a racist. So one of the things they brought up was an old interview that J.D. Vance did, I would say back in 2021-ish, I think before he was even a senator. And I guess he's trying to maybe be provocative, but he made the point that one of the problems that this country has is it's run by a bunch of women who have no children, and those women are basically crazy cat ladies. And I thought about that, and I thought, well, he's got a point. He's got a point that there are a lot of these hardcore leftist women that have no families but insist on telling all the rest of us what to do. And I thought, why are they bringing this interview up? I mean, this old interview. They're afraid of it. That's why. They're afraid of this issue, that they believe the fact that Kamala Harris has no children is not going to play well with the American electorate. And I think they're probably right. That's just one of those things that makes her unlikable. That when John or Sue Public goes into the voting booth and they say, gee, I don't know about that Kamala Harris. They just think to themselves, yeah, I mean, she's 60 and she doesn't have any kids. I mean, she's been a career woman climbing up the ladder. She has no heart. She has no soul. She has no family, but she's going to tell me how to run my family. I don't think that plays well. I think that's why they're afraid of it. I think that's another negative for her. Also from the Democrat side of the aisle, it's been pointed out to me that African Americans don't like her for any number of reasons, but one of them is she has a white husband. Like, okay, is that important? I don't care. But apparently that does matter in the African American community. And we're telling it hardcore like it is here in the barn. You know, I saw this the other day where one of the CNN people brought up the point that I've made repeatedly here in the barn about Josh Shapiro. He's Jewish. And he mentioned that, well, if they're going to put Josh Shapiro on the ticket as VP, that might be kind of risky. And the Jewish community went crazy because, you know, how dare they point out that Josh Shapiro is Jewish and a lot of people don't like Jews. What did that guy say that is wrong? What did he say that was not factual? All that is strictly factual. You think there are people out there that don't like, or that, how to say this, there are people out there that don't like the Jews. Fact! I mean, did you see these protesters down at Union Station in Washington, D.C. when Netanyahu was speaking? They're there, and they're all Democrats. So don't tell me that that's some kind of hate speech or something. That's just cold, simple political calculation there. And the same goes with this white husband deal. You know, it's just cold, straight political calculation. Apparently, you know, Harris is not popular in the African-American community. I don't know why, 100%. I could speculate a little bit. Perhaps this is part of it. So that's another factor in our favor. All right, what else we got here? Talking to Jerry confirms a lot of my belief about the never Trumpers. A lot of these guys are white, college educated, and they're offended by Trump. They see Trump and they say to themselves, I'm smarter than this guy. I am smart. I'm better than this guy. Yeah, he insults people. He is a narcissist. He's always me. He's mean, blah, 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 blah. So they're offended by the guy. Therefore, they hate him. Therefore, they won't vote for him, these never Trumpers. There might be a reverse effect like that with Harris. Here's what I'm getting at. I follow Megyn Kelly. I often listen to her podcast, not religiously, not every day, but probably once a week. And her initial comments on Harris being the nominee is she's not going to win. And I kind of, I respect Kelly's political instincts, but I think there was some hopefulness in there too. In other words, she's not going to win, right? She doesn't like Harris at all. Kelly thinks there should be a female president. I don't think one way or the other. In other words, if a female manages to win enough votes, then they do. But I'm not going to vote for a woman just because a woman's on the ticket and we've never had a woman president. That would never be part of my calculus as to why I would vote for a candidate. Never. I mean, I think that's just dumb, but that's me. I think someone like a Megyn Kelly might be saying to herself, well, it's time. We just need a woman president, damn it. And I think a lot of women might think like that. But here's where I'm thinking the never Harris factor may come in. Kelly looks at Harris and says, she's an idiot. She's I believe Kelly's word was Nimrod, which is pretty good. She's a Nimrod. She's offended by Harris, that Harris is just an embarrassment to whatever group she belongs to, in this case, women. She largely, throughout her career, has just been a babbling, moronic fool and is an embarrassment. So that's where Kelly is thinking, people are going to be turned off by that. Women are going to be turned off by that. Kelly's turned off by that. So I'm hoping that maybe that will be the never Trump effect in reverse. That, Trump has the Bill Kristols, the Jerrys of the world that won't vote for him because they're offended by him. They're smarter than he is. He embarrasses them. Maybe these women will also then look at Harris and go, good Lord, I mean, is this going to be our heroic woman that breaks the barrier finally, that forevermore is going to be lionized? Or if she is, she might set womankind back 50 to 100 years. She'll be so embarrassing. So we can't vote for her. I'm hoping that happens. One other thing that they're polling right now, and they're looking at it and saying, okay, part of where Biden's making up his ground is with the young people. I said Biden, I mean Harris. Where Harris is making up ground, Biden was losing lots of young people because they look at him, obviously he's a cadaver, and why should they be listening to this guy who obviously has no idea what he's saying? So no enthusiasm for the Democrat ticket. Drop Harris in, appears to be vibrant and can walk more than 6 steps without falling down. Yes. So young people now flocking back to the Democrat ticket. What about the old people? Which is where Biden polled the best. He polled the best with the elderly. Are they still going to support Harris the same way they would have supported Biden? I say they're not. Somewhere in that batch of old people, there's a guy or a woman who was pushed out of their job by a young up-and-coming whippersnapper who knew more about these fancy newfangled gadgets like computers than they did. So they lost their job or were thrust into retirement before they were ready or what have you. They're going to be resentful of this. This is all the same thing over again. Why? Joe might be a little slow with his words and may not be able to run very fast, but he knows more than these youngsters any day of the week, these old people will think. So I'm betting there's just got to be a certain percentage, a significant percentage, that are going to be resentful as hell of Harris for throwing good old Joe over. That's what I'm hoping. So there's another plus for us. The point of all this is that Trump has yet to begin to fight. And I think that what will happen is you're going to see some more polls come out in the next week. Harris will probably do pretty well. The honeymoon will probably last into the middle of next week or so. Harris will probably pull almost even with Trump, and then she's going to start to fade. Trump's going to start defining her. Jerry is going to start to become less ignorant. He's going to start learning more about her, pushing him out of the Harris camp and others like him. And that will be where that is. One thing Trump has not even begun to use yet is this assassination attempt. This is political capital for him, which he has not tapped into yet. And I think that counters this J6 garbage pretty neatly, because he's been attacked relentlessly with this J6 crap. And they've overplayed their hand 100 times over with this. But people like Jerry, this is important. So you need to get Jerry now thinking a little bit, and you can by some simple advertising with this assassination. All you do is just run the montage of Democrats, hopefully you got a few there of Kamala Harris, calling him a monster, calling him dangerous, calling him a threat to democracy, of a special, unique, dangerous individual, the end of democracy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you show them getting shot. And then you show them thrown up with the fist. Boom. That's pretty easy, I think. These guys own that. They own that political violence. They absolutely 100% own it. And they can bitch and complain all they want, and they can go to hell because they did this. I hate to say this, but there's almost certainly going to be another attempt on Trump. That's one of the things that I wish Trump would try to close that loophole a little bit. Basically having one of those, in case of my death messages, maybe he has it, who knows. But then nobody, if he doesn't say it before he gets killed, no one will believe it. So he needs to come out and say it. Something like, hey, look, if they knock me off somehow, vote for J.D. Vance just like it was me. In fact, vote twice for him if you can, or get your buddy to vote for him, whatever. But I fear that if they do kill him, they'll win the election. I just think that Trump's a unique force, and I don't know if Vance can replicate it. And that's why I think they're going to try again. Why would the Secret Service come out and basically ring the dinner bell for all the assassins out there? The Secret Service leaked it out to the liberal media earlier this week. Hey, we can't protect this guy. Outdoor rallies? Oh, we just can't do it. We can't do it. It's like, what world am I living in? When has the Secret Service ever come out and said in the media, we can't do our job? That's never happened in my recollection. They've always been the incorruptible agency that they protect their people like postmen deliver the mail through hell or high water, snow, rain, whatever. They do their job. They protect the politicians and the protectees that they're assigned. That's what they do. Well, now they're coming out saying we can't do it. I've never seen anything like that. All I can conclude from that is they simply are just telling every crackpot out there, hey, have at it. We're not going to be protecting him, so take your best shot. You know, I made the analogy here where the more this drags on without any information out of the corrupt FBI, the more I'm convinced it's an inside job. I haven't been able to pin down exactly how it was done. That's the kind of frustrating part for me. But perhaps it's enough just to be totally incompetent. It's widely known, and now it is, that they are incompetent. If you get enough crazy people to take a shot at the president, sooner or later, one's going to get through. So that's where I fear that may happen again. And I do fear that a successful attack will end this election cycle right then and there, which would be about as bad as it gets, because that would just mean, well, there are no more free elections in this country. If anybody tries for election, they have to somehow survive assassination attempts that the other side is supposed to prevent. I guess it just means you got to be well funded enough to have your own security people. I guess that's all that means. But yeah, I mean, I think that at some point, some of the American people will see this and say to themselves, you know, wasn't it your team, the Democrats, that were supposed to be protecting this guy? So not only did you not protect him, and it was a gross, embarrassing failure. So not only did you not protect him, then you couldn't even figure out why it was done. You haven't released any information to the public. You're just hiding it. You just won't let us know. The whole thing, I think, to any person paying attention, stinks. Now, sadly, someone like Jerry barely knows the president was shot at all. So that's the bad part, is that a lot of Americans, a guy gets shot, one of the presidential candidates gets shot, and that still doesn't move the needle for them. They just don't care. They just don't care. I am embarrassed by Jerry, frankly. I am embarrassed by him, by his cavalier attitude towards politics and who runs this country. Made the comment that it doesn't matter who the president is, doesn't affect him. Well, it hasn't affected you yet, but clearly he doesn't believe in the Reagan saying that every generation of Americans is just one generation away from losing their liberty. I guess he doesn't believe that. Or is it just, he doesn't believe it. You know, in other words, we're always going to have everything in this country. This country's never going to go backwards. It's great here. Doesn't matter who I vote for. It's always going to be just great. That's an embarrassing way to think. All right, well, I guess all I got to say other than that is we just have to keep our powder dry. Don't panic. Harris is going to get a little more of a wave here. They're going to, of course, treat her like Joan of Arc. You'll not hear any gaffes or embarrassing statements because they're going to hide her and make sure none of that comes out. All we can do is hope that she, I mean, really, how hard is it to read a speech off a teleprompter? So she'll probably be able to do that. No one's going to ask her any questions. So the fact that she is more or less of a moron is going to be pretty well hidden. So we just had to suck that one up. And it's going to take a while to bring out the dumbness of her. We just have to, stick that one out. Just had to stick that one out. Bottom line is, though, gas is still upwards of 4 gallons or $4 a gallon. Ground beef, $5 a pound. That hasn't changed. The inflation in this country is way above what the government reports it is. This has not changed. And this is what the election is almost certainly going to turn on. And she can't get away from that. That's their team. They own that. So that's the part we have to say, okay, this is where we're at. And we just have to hope like hell that enough people can put aside their hatred of Donald Trump for us to win. I think it's probably 60-40 right now that Trump wins. Of course, then, remember, if Harris is losing ground by the time the Democrat convention rolls around on the third week of August, they're probably going to try to dump her. We want to thread the line there, or thread the needle. In other words, we don't want her beating us, because then we'll probably lose. But on the other hand, we don't want to be whooping her ass so bad that her numbers are cratering, because then they'll just switch her out for someone else again. And they probably will get away with it, just like they did this time. So we want that middle ground where her numbers are starting to tail off and Trump's winning, where they'll be in between, where it's like, oh, is it worth it to dump her? And will we catch more hell than it's worth? Or should we just ride it out and hope we can just come up with enough votes on election day, because our get out the vote or find the vote or make up the vote operation is just so powerful that we'll just win it on election day like we did in 2020. That's their calculus. That'll be tough for them. So that's kind of where we're trying to hit. Like I said, if she's cratering around the third week in August and she's just so damn unpopular, well, then it'll be Gretchen Whitmer or Josh Shapiro or somebody else. It won't be her. Trump will have to win this election like 3 or 4 times. And I do kind of right now think he is the president. In other words, he's defeated the incumbent president. He is the leader of this country. Whether anyone says it or not, he is the leader of this country. Who did Netanyahu meet with first when he came over here? He met with Trump first, because Trump is the most important politician in America right now. So that is just how that is. Okay, enough. Let's talk again later. Free speech, I believe in it. This is what the barn is founded on. I'm Eric Arnold. We'll talk again.